I now call to order this meeting of the Stow-Munroe Falls City Schools Board of Education on Thursday, August 21st at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
East Jenkins. Merletti.
Here.
Sheehan.
Here.
Sudonic.
Here.
Wind.
Here. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everything we do is designed to provide a future-ready, student-centered learning experience for every single child. Our strategic plan for 2021 through 2026 will help us accomplish this goal by considering every facet of a student's learning experience, from curriculum to infrastructure to wellness and everything in between. As members of the Board of Education, we serve as trustees. Therefore, this is a business meeting being conducted in public, not a public meeting. We are grateful to serve an engaged community and therefore encourage and respect input from citizens. We expect that everyone present will behave in a manner consistent with the behavior we expect of our students. We reserve the right to have those who do not comply removed from our meeting. Okay, now it is time to turn it over to the impact group. You have to turn on the mic. There you go.
How about that? Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate your comments there, that it's a pleasure to serve. It's a pleasure for us to work with you here this evening as we begin the process for strategic planning. Doreen Osmond and I are going to introduce ourselves in a moment, but it's not only an honor to be here tonight to help facilitate this process because it's all of you, but it's also for both of us our home community. We both live in Stow and are Stow residents, and both of my kids went all the way through Stow schools and graduated in 2018 and 2021, and they were extremely prepared for their next steps in their lives as they've gone on to Ohio State and John Carroll, and one of them now starting her first days of teaching this week. So it's really an honor to be a part of doing this work within our community. So thank you for having us. Tonight, we're going to be digging into the early steps of the strategic planning process. We are going to tell you a little bit more about the impact group, tell you a little bit more about ourselves, and then we'll begin with an overview of strategic planning and the different steps, and then we will really focus on the purpose of this meeting, which is the board's visioning session and SWOT analysis. So we're going to ask you to reflect on what you believe to be the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of the Stow-Munroe Falls schools. The administrative team will have that same opportunity to weigh in on those things as well. And those steps help us shape the community engagement process. And we're going to tell you more about each of those steps in just a minute. Before we do that, we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves. Doreen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I live in Munroe Falls, so we have the whole Stow and Munroe Falls schools. I make sure we are saying Munroe Falls also. We've been a resident, my husband and I have been residents for 23, 24 years now. I just retired a year ago from education, public education, after a 35-year career. I spent my time in Maple Heights, my first 14 years, and then my last 21 were in the Hudson City schools, where I served along that 35-year career as an elementary teacher, middle school teacher, elementary principal, curriculum director, and then my last, I think, 12 or 13 years was assistant superintendent of the Hudson City schools. I've also been a member of the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation, which is a foundation that supports public schools. And so I have read grants and done, been on the strategic planning committee for that also. So my place and my heart is in education and serving those who make an impact for education. And I joined the impact group a year plus 2 days ago. I took a couple weeks off and started another venture, and it's been an honor. I worked with Phil Herman now for, I don't know, 17 or I was pregnant with Olivia, so 20 years on and off. So it's delightful to work for such a group, and especially with Phil.
Thanks, Doreen. Again, I've introduced myself already. Similar to Doreen, most of my career was in public education as a teacher, a principal, director of human resources, and assistant superintendent, and for 11 years, superintendent. Doreen and I got to work together in Hudson for 17 years together, and left that work to join the impact group. And now we work with school districts around the state and some out of the state doing this kind of work. Really, the work we do at the impact group is focused in these areas: strategic planning, communications services for schools. Sometimes we are an outsourced communications department for schools. Sometimes we help with crisis communications. Sometimes we're just an element of supplementing the communications work they do, and culture development. We certainly believe that organizations that recognize that those three things, overall, knowing the direction that they're headed and having clear goals, are clearly communicating and have two-way methods of communicating with their communities, and really invest in the people who are serving those they serve. We believe that those are the organizations that have the highest impact, and so we try to help support each of those things with the organizations we work with. About 60% of our work is in K-12 schools, and we also work with boards of developmental disabilities and cities and villages and parks as well. But let's do an overview of the strategic planning process. Doreen, you want to walk through this?
Sure. There are 3 phases of the strategic plan process, and we're starting that first phase tonight. Well, prior to that, actually, Phil and I met with Dr. Gould in June, early June, to map out the process and the different phases and the different engagements and community engagement. I also worked with the cabinet in June, going over the strategic plan process and their priorities. So thinking with the end in mind, Stephen Covey, what do you want in a strategic plan? How do you want that strategic plan to work for your students and for your community? So we're starting with a leadership team, and that is you all as the Board of Education. And then the first Wednesday of September, whatever date that is, we're meeting with the full leadership team of the Stow-Munroe Falls School District and doing the very same process that we're doing with you also. So you are the school leadership. Phase 2 is that stakeholder engagement. The way that we believe is the best way and to really get the voice of your community. This is not Impact Group's strategic plan. This is not Dr. Gould's strategic plan. This is a strategic plan that's going to reflect input and the priorities of your school community. So we have focus groups with staff, students, community members, parents, and then we also have key stakeholders, and we're going to break that down a little bit for you. So again, at all levels, and the very best focus groups, I have to say, are the students, because how many times in organizations do we make plans? I did it as a teacher, I did it as an elementary principal and curriculum director. We needed our kids, our students at the table, understanding and leading us and getting their input, because what we're planning is for them. So they have to be an integral part of that. And so the staff, also parents, and then community members. And so those, how that happens, we'll work with Dr. Gould and the cabinet team, understanding, getting that communication out. Your new communications manager is awesome. She has great ideas. I've been following, I've been a good stalker on Instagram and following the great things that are happening in the school district. So a great celebration, a lot of energy there. I am so sorry. Surveys. We engage engage in surveys. There's a staff survey and then also a parent and community survey. And we work with, we talk to cabinet and ask them, what are some of their priorities, because the survey is different for every school district. And there are some open-ended questions. And then to round out the last part of this, the community stakeholder engagement process is we identify with your team, again, with Dr. Gold and the team, key community members, whether that's your mayor or your law director or Jeff Film, police chief Film, talking to them, getting their insight, their perspective. It might be somebody that doesn't attend a focus group, but we're going to want to make sure that they're engaged and we get their feedback. It could be your local, your state senator or your state rep also. Then comes that next phase. As we get all that input from the survey, from the focus groups, and from the interviews, themes come out. So, and you're a school, so it's theme about student learning or the student experience, and what that looks like, I don't know, but you'll have some kind of goal. There'll be some kind of theme that comes out after the focus group, and then we develop goals and objectives. Impact group, Phil and I and our team, we will draft goals and objectives that we feel are aligned with what we heard are the priorities from your community. And then from there, we create action steps, and those action steps are something that are planned out. We look at your baseline data. Schools have so much data, and it's not to create a to-do list. That's not what the strategic plan is about. It is about using your data, understanding your baseline data, gathering recommendations, and then also implementation, and then a way to measure it. This strategic plan doesn't sit on somebody's desk. It is intended to be dynamic. It is intended to be reviewed at least twice a year, especially after you have that first year of implementation under your belt. And it's intended the way we have it structured to be reportable and something that is visible and making it visible for your community. I often talk about a strategic plan. Our founder and partner likes to talk about it as a bucket list. So a bucket list is something that you plan for. It's a stretch, and then you write it down, and then you have action steps. And a lot of times, Patrick, there's a budget, I know. So you want to make sure that you can actually, and it could be something that you intentionally save for and plan for, and so there's a specific timeline also. And then part of that action step development is putting somebody in charge. Who is the lead? Who is the driver? Who is the co-chair, chair and co-chair? Because we intentionally make sure that there's bench depth in leading those goals. It's not something, it's going to be really a team effort, and it helps build leadership capacity also. So, and then the final steps is drafting that strategic plan to this and submitted to the superintendent. There is a lot of back and forth and revisions to make sure that it does reflect and it's doable for your district. And then we create the strategic plan in 3 different formats. The first version is just the goals and the objectives, not just, and that is something the Board of Education approves. That is the document the Board of Education approves. Version 2 is the working document. So you can see there are action steps. What I'm talking about is identifying your baseline, getting your recommendations, implementation, and then the measurement. We also map this out so you're not implementing all, 30 objectives in your first year. And a lot of times, many times, the objectives are building on one another. And then there's a poster version that helps brand the strategic plan and is posted on social media. It can be posted in your buildings, and so on and so forth. So we give you a design that way. You don't necessarily approve the poster because it's the same content that's in the strategic plan. But that version 1 is something that you would be considering for approval. So I'm going to go back.
Thank you for that overview, Doreen. When we think about, I want to see if you have any questions on that before we dig into the part where we're going to do less talking and more listening. One of the most important pieces in all of that is that community engagement. We find that over and over and over. This is really an opportunity to try to engage the community, the students, the staff, parents in a big way. really creating many opportunities for understanding their thoughts, their perspectives, what they feel are the strengths of the school district and where they find there to be challenges of the school district. We will be working with your communications folks to help push the opportunities to be engaged. We want as many people as possible to engage in that survey and to participate in those focus groups. It's really essential to developing those goals and objectives that are representative of the broad community and the overall direction. It also, we often talk about strategic plan as being one method that school districts can utilize to build trust. Trust is often built in organizations when we do what we say we're going to do. So we've listened. We're telling the community what we heard from them. Here's what we're doing with the results of that. And then hopefully over the coming years, we're able to say, we can demonstrate to the community what has been accomplished over that period of time. That's the idea behind the whole process. But we'll pause there. Do you have any questions on that before we jump into the visioning?
I do.
Yeah.
When we say staff, can we just be very careful to include the union? Because I think in the past we've thought staff included union, and we've made the mistake of not including union leadership. And I want to make sure that we are very deliberate with making sure that they're at the table as well.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that is included. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to get some clarity. Unfortunately, I wasn't at that May 5th meeting, so there's a lot of things that I may be asking that was already answered there, but I'm sure you're aware we have an election in November.
Yes.
Potentially, this board could look very different. Why are we doing this now and not doing it in January?
Sure, and I don't know if Dr. Gold, if you'd like to speak to that in terms of the timeline of the process.
So as we've shared in the past, the reason we're starting this process now is because the strategic plan is up in 2026. You want to engage your community earlier in the process, because as they stepped out the timeline, you want to have the opportunity to review, revise, and prepare so that when fall comes, we can launch the strategic plan and be ready to go.
So the goal is to launch it in roughly a year.
Yes.
So to have all of this input, all of the revisions, all of that.
It's going to take
completed in
time.
a year.
Yes, you got focus group, you got interviews, so that's going to take time.
So going back to that same question, then, well, why are we here then? Because again, this could be very different, so everything we talk about tonight could be moot.
Sure. As far as the process goes, hearing from the administration and the Board of Education about the assessment of where the school district's current strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats help us develop some of those community questions. They help us develop the questions for the focus groups and make sure that we have an understanding of the current lay of the land before we really go out and engage the community in a big way. On the back end of that is when we begin to draft those goals and objectives. What you're sharing with us tonight really helps us lay the groundwork for engaging the community. It's not necessarily what we hear tonight going to be the establishment of we're not writing goals or objectives tonight. We are making sure that we understand that current baseline, and we are going to ask you, what is your long-term vision? How you define success for the district? If I don't know when you will finalize the plan in terms of the Board of Education adopting it, but I would imagine that depending on that timeline, there could be a chance for future Board of Education members to weigh in on that process as well.
But wouldn't that require another meeting like this?
I suppose it probably could. We're glad to dialogue with you about what you think would work, what would work best.
Because again, you're talking 49 days till well, again, we said January when it would actually shift. Yeah, I'm just, afraid, we're spending a lot of money here for this, and to put ourselves in a position to potentially have to duplicate, what we're doing based on potentially new board members that could be the same.
Sure. I don't know, very respectfully, Mr. Sheehan, I don't know that I would say that we'd be duplicating as much as tweaking, revising, or adjusting it based on additional priorities that were shared. A big chunk of the process I talked about is that community engagement and really engaging those voices and taking advantage of the time in the fall to be able to do that enables you to keep on pace to have something that would be in place and operational for next year.
We will have at least one new board member come January. So, there would be that need to kind of loop in whoever is new into the process. But I don't know that, knowing the results from an election changes what our community looks like and thinks and feels about this process right now. We're going to hear from the community regardless.
Also, anybody that is running for Board of Education, we would encourage them to attend a focus group. And so even anybody can attend a focus group. So that is something that's really important too. It gives them, whoever I don't know who the candidates are. I will by the time I go to on election day or vote prior. But I'm just saying that we would encourage, if somebody is interested in serving on the board, then I think that would be important, that they would want to engage.
That's a really good point.
There'll be opportunities. But again, there's a lot of, in that revision phase and in setting those priorities too, and after you gather that feedback, themes naturally come to the top, they float to the top. So looking at that, it's really that strategic direction of where you want to go with that student learning, with communication, with engaging partners, or whatever it is. I don't know. It's not predetermined, but those are some of the things that we typically see, some version of that in a strategic plan. So.
And I'd add that a large part is coming from staff as well, and
Yes.
that's not going to be changing in January either. So, not to mention, in 49 days might be the election, but these board members are serving till at least December 31st. So, that even if you are not elected again, you're still a board member through that time and have every right to make decisions.
Also, I did hear you say it's going to be reviewed twice a year, correct? So
It is. It is. And the goals and the objectives, they do pretty much stay the same, but if they do need to change, then that comes back for procedural, that would come back to the Board of Education for refinement. That would be board action. So, yes, absolutely. So it's reported out, exactly.
Have you looked at our current strategic plan?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just curious, does our current strategic plan say that we start to look at the new strategic plan 14 months before it comes to a renewal? Is that in there?
No, I do not believe that is in your current strategic plan, but I've written a lot of strategic plans, been a lot of part of strategic plans, and rarely does the strategic plan say when you should start working on the next strategic plan.
And I think one of the things I like about what you're talking about here is keeping the strategic plan a living document.
Yes.
That we revisit regularly, and if we need to adjust things, we can adjust things. And in my experience, that hasn't been the case in large part with our current strategic plan. There hasn't been a lot of evaluation changes as it's gone along. So I really like that part of the design and the intent behind this.
Yeah. And in different districts, in different organizations, they report out differently. I'm working with the County Board of DD, and they have a stoplight system that is reported out on. every, you know, like, and some of it, it's just not started yet. It wasn't intended to be started either. So, but it is a quick, like, scorecard. I think they call it their scorecard. And again, it reflects the organization, whatever that reporting out is. And sometimes it's quick, and sometimes it could be with a narrative, or it could be, it just depends. We can work with the organization. We want to set you up for success. That is part of that is an essential core value that we have at the Impact Group, is setting you up for success. And we're not going anywhere.
That's what I like about hiring local folks.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
Which, again, and I will apologize because I wasn't at the May 5th meeting, but that does bring up another question. And I did a little back checking, and in talking to at least the last two boards that were involved in a strategic plan, they did it within the board.
Yeah.
We did not bring a third party in to do it.
So let me say why we're bringing in a third party. And I also want to address the concern about the cost. This did not cost the district any additional monies. This was money that was set aside through our Educational Service Center with our foundation dollars. And so there were some retirements that happened, and also some reductions in some contracts. And so that money was already there. So this is not any additional money. The reason you want to bring in an outside facilitator, because it brings an unbiased perspective. That unbiased perspective allows for you to build that community-owned trust that's needed. The strategic plan is a roadmap. It tells you exactly where you're going, where you're going to start, where you're going to end. The current strategic plan that we have, if I were to go around and ask people what the vision is, what the number of goals we have, what each one of those goals say, many people will not be able to articulate that. This is something that we want to have an invested interest in. We want to not have it on the shelf. We want to set direction. We want to know where we're going. So being involved in the strategic plan, starting early so people understand, and that we get the number of people that we need all across the Stow-Munroe Falls community to have an invested interest in this. The earlier we start, the better, because 2026 will be here before you know it, and we will have to unveil a new strategic plan, and we don't need to start later, we need to start earlier.
And I would say, when we were first talking about this possibility of having a third party help us with this, I did kind of reach out to some of my school board contacts around the state, and it is pretty typical for boards to have some assistance in getting solid community feedback, in generating the strategic plans. I can't speak to why previous boards here did not do it that way, but it is pretty standard practice for most boards.
And I want to add to Dr. Gould's comment about being really not biased. Really, when we are doing the focus groups, we ask a leader in the district, whether it's Dr. Gould or one of her cabinet members, introduce us, and then they leave. They leave. You leave, and it is totally, and that's for our staff, including our intentionally making sure union representation is at that table. So it is truly unfiltered feedback, and it's not a complaint session. People are at that table. People are there because they want to see that vision, and they want to make a difference.
Right, we're going to get more honest.
Yes,
and
you are.
And easy. You know, it's gonna be a lot easier to get that feedback from folks when it's being led by someone outside of the district. Then we're not dealing with, you know, trying to give the right answers or the politically correct answers in that situation. We're hopefully getting true impressions and feedback from the people involved.
So just to get some clarity, this Educational Service Center is where this $34,000 came from. Could that money, let's say we didn't do this here, could that money have been used for the children in any way?
The strategic plan is going to be used for the children. Your first two goals of the strategic plan right now are focused in on children. We talk about curriculum and instruction, we talk about wellness of kids, all of those things. Again, this is for the children, this is for the staff, this is for the community. That's what a strategic plan is. It is not anything in isolation that does not fit into what our goals, our mission, and our vision is.
No, what I'm referring to, yes, I assume that this plan is for the children of the district, but as far as, again, the money, could it have been there to help with any kind of costs or
Mr.
any
Sheehan,
kind of...
with all due respect, that is entirely off topic.
No, I'm gonna answer it.
Okay.
That $34,000, the work that is going to take place in the goal areas, that work is for students. We are here for students in whatever we do. So that $34,000 is going to impact them to come back and take care of us, because we want them to come back and be productive citizens. So whatever we step out in those goals is helping students.
I'd like to add that, you know, as one of the primary roles and functions of a Board of Education is to set long-term goals and strategic planning for the district, which is directly affecting student outcomes. So, you know, the fact that we are able to engage with long-term educators especially from a very successful district that is very well regarded in the state, I think is a boon for us. And I do think that in dealing with the document that we have been dealing with, it's cumbersome, it's difficult to understand and manage. There's far too many goals with no action steps and no measurable, no way to measure success. And therefore, I think that we could not spend these dollars in a better way than to engage and make a successful long-term plan for our students.
Right, the goal is for everybody to be engaging with this plan and have an idea of what that overarching goal of the organization is, and have that investment in what the goals of the district are. And with that investment, we're going to see better outcomes.
One last question in regards to the finances. Because again, I wasn't there on the 5th, so I don't know the entire conversation. Was this put out to bid, or was the impact group the only group that was approached?
On the May 5th meeting, I shared that I had several proposals, and the impact group actually came in at the lowest of those proposals and had more expertise than the other proposals that I had.
And Mr. Sheehan, I understand you missed that meeting, but that meeting was the time to have these discussions when we were approving the contract.
Well, I wasn't there, and I'm asking that now.
It might be helpful, just as this process goes on, to go back and watch that meeting too, because it's all there for you to answer the questions, the discussions that were had during the process.
And if you have questions during the process, please, you can funnel them through Dr. Gould, or if you want to, and she can share them with us, whatever your process is for that. Tonight is not your only night. If you wake up, or you're driving to work, or you're driving home, or you wake up at 2 in the morning thinking, oh, I wish I would have said that, please know that we are available via email and phone call at any time. Happens all the time.
Mr. Sheehan, I appreciate the question about doing it internally versus hiring someone to assist with the process. School districts can do it by themselves. It's a tremendous challenge for them to do it. Their administrators have heavy loads, and in addition to the kind of the unbiased third party as listeners, it's just difficult to engage the community on that scale and to process that amount of information, whether it be from the focus groups or certainly when we're talking about reading through hundreds of surveys and processing that information and generating the themes, it tends to be a tremendous amount. And so school districts often seek either someone like us or Patel for Kids or EXMI or other firms to do that. You're certainly not alone as a school district. I would say it's more common for a school district to have someone to help them than not. Some school districts do go it alone. Sometimes they end up with a successful plan. Sometimes it sits on the shelf and never gets done just because of the workload. I appreciate the question.
I would say that the current plan did a lot more sitting on the shelf than I would hope that we do moving forward.
But well-intentioned, because there's a lot, I can see, just being in the schools for 35 years, a lot of work went into that plan also, so I don't want to take that away from them, from the group that did that, and and who led that. So we're here, and we're here to do that heavy lifting, so your teams can do their jobs too, so.
Okay, we're going to ask you to start answering some of these questions as we go through this process. And the very first question that we're going to ask, again, understand that tonight you're offering your perspectives as board members that will help us shape the direction of that engagement. This is not, what you say tonight will not be the final vision for the strategic plan. But let's begin by imagining that it is 3 to 5 years from now, and the strategic plan has been in place, and it was successful. Where do you want the organization to be in 3 to 5 years, or what has happened that is cause for celebration? What does it look like?
And I'm going to take notes, so.
We'll give you a minute there to think about some of those things, and then we'll begin sharing and capture some of these up on the screen. Give you just another few seconds here and we'll go ahead and get going. So what are some of the things you wrote down there as you reflected on those questions? Where you want the organization to be in 3 to 5 years, or what has happened over that period of time that would be cause for celebration?
I had several different ideas in different areas. We've been making academic improvements, and I would like to see that continue and expand. I would like our students to feel safe, welcome, ready to learn, maybe be fed. And in buildings and facilities that are set up to give them the best chance. Staff who get the support that they need to do their jobs in the best way possible, and to keep, similar to the kids, to keep that continuous improvement moving, and who work together as a team, who have that investment in one another and the kids and the district as a whole. I'd like to see us continue spending within our means and keeping our budgets balanced. I think that's an area of challenge as we see some of our funding sources shrinking. But we've managed to keep that budget balanced the last couple of years, and I'd really like to see us keep doing that. I think that builds a lot of trust with the community. And I'd like to see maybe a closer relationship between the district and our communities. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but maybe more teamwork there as well.
When you say a close relationship between the district and the communities, do you mean city administration? Do you mean with community members as a whole? What are some of your thoughts on that?
All of the above, but I think we do have those relationships with city officials, and those have continued to grow, but I'm envisioning more interaction as a whole from the community. Are there ways to bring more community members in to offer things to our kids, and vice versa, to have our kids going out and helping the community? They do, right? That's there. Maybe have that continue to grow.
Great. Thank you for getting us started. Yeah. Others?
I have making sure that students are at the heart of every decision, big or small. And I'd like to see our administration, our unions, and our school board all working together in harmony. And I think that we could grow our Stow-Munroe Falls relationship. I think we have room for that, because I think that a lot of times Munroe Falls feels left out. I don't know, maybe Tina can speak to that a little more, but I feel like whenever I speak to we drop it all the time. It's people say Stow High School, or even sometimes uniforms are branded as Stow, and I think we need to make sure that we remember that we are a two-community district. And then I wrote, our community is very supportive across the board, and we should capitalize on that bulldog pride. Because I think whenever we put a call out for anything, whether it's this family needs help, or whatever the case may be, this community knows how to show up, and I think that we can, if we can figure out a way to capitalize on that a little more, that would be good for students. And then finally, I'd say I'd like to make sure that we're right-sized and hopefully moving towards new buildings while we make sure that we're focusing on what our district should look like in 30 years at that time, and making sure that we're not making our buildings too big, and making sure that that students are getting the best educational opportunities in the classroom, because I think right now our buildings are set up for what education looked like 50, 80 years ago. Today it's different, and we don't have the space, we don't have the right space for them, and I would really like to see them thriving in a better environment.
Very good, thank you. Thank you. And by the way, we're going to be capturing this in bullet points tonight, almost as reminders of what you said, if you want to look up on the screen. But don't worry if there's something that we kind of missed. The very nice thing about this, one of the nice things about this being streamed and recorded tonight is that we get to go back and reference against it. So if you feel like we missed a point or something, we'll go back and catch that. Yeah.
No, I'd say big picture here is, to be a top 10 district in the state. Just having been a coach, I'm always kind of focused on, that aspect of something that would bring pride to top 10. You're top 10 of anything, you're pretty good. And then more mechanical stuff, and this is me personally, but I'd like to see the elimination of the Chromebooks and get back to books and get back to real learning and not the dependency on technology. And then there's more, but just the other one here in the fairness of time is just allowing the teachers to teach and get rid of these endless surveys and this focus on mental health. That's what the parents are here for, so.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan. When you think about top 10 district in the state, do you have particular measures that you would think about for that, or
Well, I don't know, but what got me thinking about it, we got Solon right up the street, who I just saw is number 5. So what's Solon doing?
Okay.
They're right in our neighborhood.
Yeah, so some of those academic measures that they use to rank school districts in the state, yeah, right. Thanks.
I'd like to see us continue to put professional policies and procedures in place so that everyone that works for the district feels that they are respected and treated with dignity. I'd like to see us fill the gaps in the educational system, to have some earlier testing of the students to make sure we can catch things like dyslexia or other learning hurdles in the kids before they get too far through the system. I'd like to see us engage our alumni more. We don't really have an alumni office or any kind of person that they can reach out to, or we can reach out to them. And so I had a really good experience at one of our events where I sat at our booth and we had stickers for the alumni, and so many people came up and really just that little symbol, they were so excited to get that, and really, told you what class they were from and, how much they loved going to school in the Stow-Munroe Falls system. And so I think it's really important to tap into that pride that they all have going to school here.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ms. Merlady.
I love that you mentioned our alums, because that's also, our alumni are such a resource for our students, for our district, that, yeah, I think you're right on that.
Mm-hmm. And I do think we need, quality facilities in order to make our district the district of choice, that people will choose to move here to go to our schools because they are the best. And I think that we need to embrace technology and prepare our kids for the real world that's out there, where they're going to have to deal with AI and they're going to have to deal with all these new things coming down the line, and know how to use them properly and know to watch out for things that might be a scam or whatever. And we need to make sure that they're prepared for the future, and the future is going to have that technology.
Thank you.
And that reminds me of something that I forgot to say. I mean, obviously we need students who are ready to step off into adulthood and into the world of work, which includes technology skills, it includes practical skills, it includes those 3 R's, right? it includes those soft skills of getting along with one another and working together in groups. But that made me think, you know, one of our strengths is our variety of CTE programs that we have through the 6th district. And we have a lot of students who benefit greatly from that. And I wonder if there's opportunity there to potentially keep growing and keep responding to changes and to what the students need. We've had several programs over the last few years that have changed in response to, you know, changing realities that the students are going into, and to make sure that we're continuing to update those offerings and making sure that we're also kind of meeting those employment needs of our local businesses, right? Like, are we making sure that our kids are learning skills that, you know, they could go down the street and grab a job?
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
I just want one caveat though, with that technology piece, is they still need to know how to talk to people.
That's those soft skills.
I find a lot of our interns, if we ask them to do a task and people don't answer the email, they don't know how to pick up the phone and call them then and follow up. And they need to be able to still actually talk to people versus email and text and all those things. So yes, definitely.
Thank you.
If you don't think that I'm accurate, we'll go back and watch it too, but I'm trying to keep up.
Nothing
throwing
like
a lot at
typing
you,
on a
so
large screen in
understandable.
public. That's great. Yeah.
I have some misspellings, but.
Anything else as we think about those questions from the vision, or what the district looks like in 3 to 5 years?
One last thing I think I'd like to add is just if there's any way we can still try, I know academically we've accounted for the gap that COVID has, hit with the students, but I think a lot of that soft skills is related to that. I think a lot of the COVID pandemic caused a lot of issues with our students, and I don't know if there's a way to address that, but it seems important.
I think especially with those soft skills. Like, there's some catching up to do from the years of less social interaction.
Thank you. We're going to move on to strengths. Doreen is going to facilitate this part, and I'm going to take my shot at keeping up with you on the keyboard.
All right, so this is what I've loved. This is one of my favorite segments, is strengths, because there are so many times I think boards of education or administrators or staff members, we get so bogged down in the day-to-day work that we don't pause and say, oh my gosh, what do we do really well? What is cause for celebration, and what makes you proud? You ran for this board. It wasn't for the paycheck. Trust me, I know. It wasn't for the paycheck. It was because you wanted to make a difference in something bigger than yourself, and because you believe in kids and you believe in serving your community. I mean, those are main reasons why people run for boards. So, which is great. So now take a few moments to reflect and jot down, what do you feel the Stow-Munroe Falls schools do really well? What is cause for celebration? And what makes you proud? Okay. Phil is running low on battery, so it's okay. We'll figure it out. We're good. You have some time, so you can wait. Okay. So what do you feel you do really well?
I mean, I mentioned the CTE programs.
Yep.
We have amazing opportunities there for our kids. Our arts programs and extracurriculars in general offer a lot to our students. You know, like I've been to plays and musicals at the high school that outstrip the ones I have been to at Kent State. And, you know, not to rag on my employer, Kent State, but our arts programs are amazing. Our band wins all kinds of awards, right? You know, we have a huge variety of sports and clubs so that students can always find a place that they belong. Obviously, our academics are solid and have been improving, and we have such a wide variety, and I guess I'm thinking like high school because that's where my kids most recently were, right? But we have huge AP offerings and lots of different classes and different interest areas. So again, our students have those opportunities to find those things that they're interested in and those places that they feel like they belong. So, and you know, we have amazing staff, right? We have some award-winning teachers. We have lunch staff who know the names of every kid who comes through their line. I don't know how. You know, all of that, and amazing administration, and some real strength from the top down in terms of our staff.
Thank you.
Obviously, I reiterate everything Dr. Nguyen said, because you probably stole most of everybody's already, but that's okay.
Sorry.
That's a good, it's good that we all think that way. I do think, I just want to highlight, you did say administration, but I just want to really call out our superintendent and treasurer. I feel like we've turned the corner on some rough years, and we have a fantastic team that is wants to keep students at the forefront and have us a lean, mean, you know, fighting machine. And I think that I just could not be more proud of the work that they do. I'm thankful for them. I think we have great partnerships in the district with our community, such as whether it's with our nonprofits like Rotary for Stuff the Bus, or whether, you know, the groups that got together, Bulldog Bags for like the Bulldog Bash, the Foodie Palooza with the Stow Community Foundation. So I really think that there's some really strong nonprofit relationships. And then also I'm proud to have a district where we don't have pay to participate, so that those opportunities that Dr. Wind was talking about are accessible to more students. So that's mine.
I focus more on just the people, and I had here, you know, we have a lot of very strong teachers who can still perform admirably while surrounded by challenging situations.
Thank you.
I'll just add a little bit. We have great opportunities for advanced classes. Our students can earn, like my son's in 8th grade, he'll earn 2 high school credits in 8th grade. So then he'll have more opportunities to earn college credit when he's at the high school level, because he'll have more time on his schedule. There are wonderful opportunities for advancement and to push the kids so that, they can leave with college credit that's free to them.
So those academic pathways that have been created, really not only at the high school, but at Kimpton.
Right. And then we also have the 6-district compact with the surrounding districts and focusing on different areas where the kids, we can really engage them with their interests are right now. And some of them earn college credit, some get licensing in certain areas. So it really is a full range of opportunities for our students that I know wasn't available when we were in school. And
CTE is not, CTE is so different now. In
Right.
the advancements from even 20 years ago. It's
Right.
credit
And one of
in districts is amazing.
One of the things that I've learned in talking with our CTE teachers and learning more about our CTE programs is a lot of them are set up so that the students can get that college credit, go to college. They can get that license and go out into the community, and it's not a predetermined pathway. They're giving the students some flexibility for what that next step will look like.
That C-tag to the course that they're earning that dual credit. My background's curriculum, so you're speaking my language.
And then I'm proud of the fact that we really emphasize conflict resolution and teaching the kids kindness and teaching them how to respect each other. And that's something that every school from preschool on up, they really do a good job of teaching the kids how to engage with each other. So I'm really proud of the way that our kids behave.
Anything else before we move on to the next one?
Just like to reiterate on the clubs, my son got a list, like 4 pages of clubs, whether they were art-related, academic-related, even intramural sports if you're not playing on one of the teams. So there's a lot of opportunities there to be a part of something, even if you're not playing a sport.
Let's add coaches to that list of things that we have that are fantastic. In
The coaches? Did you get coaches? Yeah, and that goes to that sense of belonging that you envisioned, that I think somebody talked about in the vision statement, and having those opportunities. Not all schools are able to do that, how important that is. So the next slide, or the next part is weaknesses, but I don't really like that, but it fits with that SWOT analysis thing. So I like to say the growth areas. If you've ever read Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, it's not an oldie but a goodie, but it's those things that aren't there yet, that power of yet. So in that spirit, what are the areas you wish to improve? What areas require either deeper planning and or resources? And not only monetary resources, but human capital or some effort. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. Weaknesses or growth areas, areas you wish to improve. And all strong organizations identify their growth areas, otherwise they remain stagnant. So this is not something that is, I don't want it to be this negative connotation at all. It's really where you need to grow. Oh, look at that. All right, what are some areas that need attention or deeper planning, or areas that we want to improve?
I think facilities are a big obvious when we're dealing with buildings that are, I mean, the high school is the newest building and it's over 30 years old. We're dealing with the other buildings all being between 50 something and 80.
Yeah, I remember when Wakeman was across the street where Mark's is.
Back in the day.
Back in the olden days, as my kids will say.
So, you know, addressing that physical facility piece, I think, is a huge opportunity. I feel like we've already said some of this, but, you know, continuing to build that community engagement and build that community trust. I think there's opportunities there to build those partnerships with businesses in the community, and that might assist us with some of the dollar piece, because obviously we've got to stay on top of our finances while we offer all of this to our kids, and that there may be opportunities there that, you know, sponsorships, grants, donations, I don't know, but, you know, more of those partnerships, as well as that overall community trust. I think as we have started to settle into new administration, who are awesome, there's still some growth there to do in our staff and our administration, and that teamwork, and teamwork with our unions, and making sure that we're all working toward those same goals. And most importantly, making sure that we're continuing to grow in meeting students where they're at and getting them where they need to go. Making sure that our students are ready to learn and get what they need.
I think we have a lot of room to grow in just process improvement, infrastructure. It seems like every time that, you know, whether it's Dr. Gould or Mr. Gaglano, like, looks into something of how do we do X, Y, or Z, there's nothing there. There's just no infrastructure. And slowly over the last year and, you know, or two, we're starting to build that up. But, you know, there needs to be processes in place, and, you know, measurable goals, you know, even in, you know, at the department level. And, you know, they're starting to work on that, and I'm happy with that. But, you know, that's just something we still have a lot of room for growth on. And I think our comms are, you know, I know we have a new communications director, but I think, you know, our communications are still tough. I think ever since we lost the newspaper, we lose out on communicating with our seniors. And I think it's been a blow, not just to us, but to anyone who's lost their local paper. I think Hudson still, yes, they still have theirs, but I can't think of any other district that has it, you know, and that's a way that, you know, we really struggle there. And then I think investigating some alternative funding resources as our taxpayers feel the crunch with property tax, and as our state and federal government attack our funding. I think every district probably needs to be thinking about alternative funding, because our students need resources and we need money to give them resources. So it has to come from somewhere. Yeah. So that's
I just want to add, because I agree with many of those, but I just want to add clear expectations for our staff and our students. And I really am happy that we're doing this, because I think that if everybody knows what's expected of them and has clear goals, then we'll be able to all move in the same path and get things done.
I'd like to add really quickly, just making sure that our staff feels respected, and, you know, I think that we
Supported,
respected and supported. Yeah, and I'm not saying they don't, but I just think there's always room for growth there. And I think that, you know, everyone could do a little bit better on that.
And I think that does go along with some of the processes that you both are talking about, right? When we have predictable, understood processes, goals that we're working toward, right? All of that helps everybody be aligned and be happier with their jobs and feel respected by their upline and feel, you know, a part of the overall organization and the growth of our students.
I do get a sense that the next two statements I'm going to make are changing, but just looking at the immediate past, a weakness I saw, parents were intimidated to speak because they were afraid of being attacked, of their child being attacked or them being attacked. Same thing with teachers and staff were intimidated to speak. I understand that, they're in fear of their job. But
So retaliation?
Yes,
Or, okay.
yes.
I just want to, I want to put words in your mouth.
And I think that's changing where people are starting to speak out and speak up. You know, they've reached their point of that they need to do that, but that I saw as a weakness. And, you know, already with just the shortness of the school year, but I heard this, you know, last year, there's just seems to be a disconnect between what the staff believes and what is actually happening to students in the schools, for example, bullying and equal treatment as far as discipline. There just seems to be a disconnect still.
Anything else to add? So I like to go a little bit out of order. The next part is threats. If you took a science of reading class, this would be against that. It does not follow our science of reading, but I like to end on the opportunities because it's hopeful. But threats, so what are the external fears that could strike at any time, and what are items you need to be prepared for? There are things that are out of your control. So I will give you an example. This biennium budget is out of your control, but you have to, through your organizations, whether it's OSBA or BASA or whatever, you have to be able to be informed and then also be nimble to change and to prepare. And that takes all those processes that are in place. So, and that is not, it's not good, bad, or indifferent, but that is an example of a threat, is how Ohio funds public schools, and, you know, and all that goes with it, because it is a little complicated for a lot of people. So what are the threats? What are other threats? What do you worry about that could impact the Stow-Munroe Falls schools? And what are items that you need to prepare? And I'll let you reflect a few moments. Who would like to share first? I'll go. Yeah.
I think there's a ballot initiative on elimination of property tax. I don't know if that went anywhere or not.
I think they have, the legislature has so many, I mean, it's months to put it back, to try to overturn the veto.
Okay.
I forget how many days.
That's a concern for me, because if it hits, then that's not only is education defunded, but I mean, police is defunded and cities are defunded.
And county boards of DD.
County boards, yeah, it's terrifying to me. because, yeah, anyway. And then I think there's a concerted effort from some groups to attack teachers' unions. That's become a focus I've noticed over the last 6 months. And that concerns me. And then I think the continued there are statements coming from the federal government and like eliminating the Department of Education, things like that. Those are pretty scary for education.
I would agree. I think a lot of that is on my list as well. You know, we have the funding uncertainties at the state and federal levels. We also have the costs of maintaining our facilities, which are not easy to predict. You know, a boiler can cost us, I've even forgotten how much money because it scares me. So there's things about having those aging facilities that cause difficulties and problems that kind of folds into some of that budget stuff. I think I'm glad that you had mentioned communication previously, because when there's poor communication, that can lead to distrust, misinformation, miscommunications, and that's been a challenge. And as we look at changing our strategic plan, there's going to be some kind of change in what we do, I would hope, because that's the goal here, is to focus what we do. So we have to look at how we are including the community in that, and messaging the community in that, and making sure that they are on board for whatever changes we're making as a district, because we can't exist without the support of our community. And I think longer term and bigger picture, there's a lot of potential for, you know, demographics changing in a way that we may or may not be able to predict. Job situations and needs, and, you know, the career outlook and expectations for our children to change. And we have to be able to kind of flex with some of that. The work environments, the technology, just the expectations, the fields that are most in demand, right? All of that is a flowing kind of thing, and we have to be able to flex with that. I think that's everything.
I'd say a threat would be the decrease of our enrollment, because with the decrease of the enrollment, you're going to be looking at situations where you're going to have to be eliminating staff, which I wouldn't want to have to do that, but it's a real thing.
Along with the funding piece, you know, we have some of our federal funds frozen, and probably in the near future will not have federal funds for our special needs population. We won't have reading tutors and some of those services that we'll probably have to absorb some of those in the general fund, but in our district, that's $7 million. So it's a pretty large, sizable part of our budget. Also, along with the property tax possibility of that going on the ballot, is they had a bill to eliminate school boards' ability to use income tax. So if we can't use property tax or income tax, that really kind of leaves us with nothing. So I'm not really sure where we go at that point, because we would not have the ability to get money from our citizens to support their community schools. And then, you know, just the warm, safe, and dry that we're trying to maintain in our current buildings. The 10-year plan to just maintain them is the same amount of money that it would cost us to build new buildings So it's kind of either way you go, we're still going to have to spend the same amount of money, and I'm not really sure where that's going to come from. So that really concerns me, because pretty much on a regular basis we have some sort of facility issue, and that's only going to get worse.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, there's times where those facilities issues interrupt operations, interrupt the kids' school days. You know, if heat goes out in a building in the middle of winter, we can't keep the kids there if we can't get that heat back on pretty quickly. And that does affect our learning and our opportunities with our kids.
Warm, safe, and dry. So, see why I want to end in something a little bit uplifting. So, opportunities, and there's so much that weave through this, and we're not operating in silos for the SWOT analysis. So, you might have some opportunities that were also weaknesses, or they were part of the visioning pieces of that, or strengths even, to build upon those strengths. So opportunities, are there available resources that you don't currently leverage? Who is willing to help? And where can we find community support? And really focusing on those opportunities, on those 3 questions, but you can make it broader if you choose, if you think of something. All right, who would like to share? Mr. Sheen?
And I've heard this for a long time, and it just kind of hit me again as, I think, an opportunity because of the number of seniors that we have in the community here and the amount of businesses to either institute or to make it easier for them, because I hear about them wanting to tutor or assist or mentor, but there's all these kind of hurdles because of administrative union things or whatever, where, you know, you have people that have life skills and they're willing to donate their time and they're told no. So trying to figure out how we can better capitalize on, you know, what's right here at our fingertips that will help the students.
And maybe removing some of those barriers. Like
Yes.
if there's a lot going into buildings now, for safety reasons too, and managing safety too. Yeah.
I would say I agree with a lot of that. I had written down our senior citizens and our high school volunteers. I think that goes both ways, right? That there's opportunities for our seniors to come in and offer things to our students, and there are things that our students can offer to our older population, and that partnership is nothing but beneficial on all ends then. And our business partnerships, making sure that we're connecting. We have so many businesses and an active chamber of commerce, right? And we have those relationships. And I think there's an opportunity there to partner more. And our alumni, as Tina was saying earlier, you know, a lot of times our alums are excited to try to help with something, right? And if we keep building those relationships and that pride, again, it does nothing but benefit everybody involved.
I think that we could do a better job working with our state rep and state senator to access potential special funds. Obviously, we're way too late for this year, but this biennium budget, but thinking ahead to the next cycle, and if there's any funds that we could use for growth, that would be good. I was also thinking, we do so well with our 6-district compact. Is there any ways that our 6 superintendents could work together, maybe to help share costs? I don't know if there's any ways that we could leverage a larger buying, out of power. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, like leverage the buying on healthcare or something like that, where if you have more employees, you can get cheaper rates. However that works with their union agreements, but also, I'd like to see us utilize our restaurant more. I don't think the community really realizes it's even there.
Except on, what is it, the holiday buffet, which is amazing, and then the spring one.
Yeah.
Trust me, I have it on my calendar. Because you have to get reservations earlier, you're out of luck.
I just think it gives people an opportunity to engage with the students and kind of see what's going on at the high school. And, maybe we can get more groups. I know the Chamber of Commerce is hosting a breakfast at the restaurant coming up. So, maybe getting more groups like that to host a meeting there, and, just let them see the facility and become familiar with it, and also utilize the field house more, and let the community know that that's also available space to them, now that we have that operational. And also with the alumni, I know the Athletic Boosters is working on having a Hall of Fame game. Larry Zonka, who is an alumni and also a football Hall of Famer, is going to be a part of that, and they're trying to get that scheduled. So just, looking at maybe some of our very successful alumni and maybe, utilizing that a little bit and just being aware of who they are, and maybe they can help engage the community. I guess he recently went over to the stadium just randomly and sang the fight song and put it on Facebook. So a lot of people have been sharing that and enjoying following him as an alumni.
And we were talking earlier about making the district a destination of choice for people to be purposefully seeking out our communities, in part because of our schools, and working with those alums who have an audience, right? That elevates our profile for sure.
I think there's one more thing I was thinking of. Over the last couple years, we've added a dance club that's going to, I think soon, hopefully transition into a sport. And hockey was recently added. So I think we can, if we continue to grow our athletics, so to have opportunities that maybe surrounding districts don't have, it might make our district more attractive.
It is my understanding we have all 28 sports that the state allows us to have. so I'm trying to think of all of them. At least under the state.
Do you have girls wrestling?
Yes.
Do you have girls wrestling? I don't know if that's
I know we have a lot.
because I've been to a few schools and girls wrestling is I know
A growth area?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's maybe it's like a junior. I don't know. You know how they grow up to be sports like boys volleyball and from a long time ago.
I'm going to add one more. I know that we have room for growth to connect our youth sports through to our high school program. I've heard that from a number of coaches and community members, that we have phenomenal youth programs and phenomenal high school programs. We just need to find a way to make sure, those, that the succession is happening. and that the students, that the great students, the great athletes that are coming up through our youth programs want to continue through at our high school.
That's a really good point. We do have some amazing youth organizations, and there's a bit of a drop-off in those middle years.
Yeah, in that vein, I would like to see our coaches engage more with the gym teachers. There was like a shooting clinic for the students, and they were videotaping the shooting techniques and showing them things, and I said, oh, the gym teachers need to be here so they can teach some of those skills. I mean, I know they teach those skills, but to really kind of hone in on the details of it.
To be clear, we're talking basketball shooting, not target shooting.
Correct, basketball shooting, sorry.
I did see a lacrosse shooting clinic too, like I don't know. Yes, but but the point is more communication and more alignment, opportunities for alignment between the PE teachers and the coaches. So they're speaking the same language. All right, thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Phil Herman. Oh no, what did I do? I did something bad. You did?
Yeah. All right. Remember when I showed you this graphic, these last two questions that I have for you are really, see the part where the greenish or yellow overlaps with the orange right there? That's the space these last two questions live in, where culture meets strategic planning. We know that all the things that we just talked about are enabled by a successful culture within a school district. They are also undermined by a culture that is not a high-functioning culture. And so when we think these last two questions really ask you to reflect on your cultural aspirations. Again, I'm going to ask you to think into the future and think and complete this sentence. Imagine it is 5 years from now, and you're answering this in regard to your culture. We are, now fill in the blank there. So we are innovative, we are caring, we are committed to educating the whole child, those kinds of things. What do you want your culture to be? This is a little harder than some of the other questions I asked you, but that's what we're going to ask, and then the next step from there, we'll think about what type of behaviors do we think need to go along to create that culture, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But if you could complete that sentence, it's 5 years from now, and you're completing that, and you're thinking about the culture here, and you're saying, at Stow-Munroe Falls Schools, we are. Okay, what do you think?
I'll say we are a place where everyone wants to be.
Excellent, consistent with the desire of a top 10 district.
Say we are the place where everyone has an opportunity to find their personal best.
define their
personal best,
their
whether
personal
their
best.
success,
Yeah, yeah.
their,
Good, thank you. I just,
their future, I don't know how to say it, but, you know, it's.
yeah, good.
I mean, I used a lot more words than either of you, so I'm trying to mentally. But to me, we're academically excellent with all types of learners. We're a professional team, welcoming, invested in everyone's well-being, staff, students, community for that matter, problem solvers,
And
innovators.
Dr. Wynn, I'm going to ask you to slow down for just a second so that Doreen can keep up with you. These are fantastic, but yes.
The well-being,
Invested in everyone's
well-being. Problem solvers, innovators,
Yeah,
a destination, and responsible with our community's money.
great, thank you.
I put, we are critical thinkers. And then I put engaged citizens. Then I put we're Bulldog proud.
Yeah, I was wondering if Bulldogs was going to make it up there in some capacity.
Got it in there.
But there it is. Yeah. Great, thank you. So looking down that list, if that's what we aspire for our culture to be, a place where everyone wants to be, a place where they can find their personal best, academically excellent, invested in everyone's well-being, problem solvers, innovators. We are responsible for our community's money. We're critical thinkers. We're engaged citizens. We're Bulldog proud. I hope those words give you pride in hearing that and thinking about that's what we're setting out to do. That's what we want our culture to be. How do we have to behave in order for that to happen? And that's the second piece, completing that sentence. At Stow-Munroe Falls Schools, we find solutions, we smile, we listen, we focus on opportunities. What are those, how would you say, or what would you describe to be those behaviors? And now we're talking verbs, actions, what we do in order to create these cultural aspirations. And we'll leave the aspirations up there while you're thinking on that. Okay, what do you think?
Just one word that we include.
We include. Great, thank you.
We bring our best selves.
Bring our best selves.
Work together as a team, try our best, care for one another, and provide opportunities and support.
I have, we set clear and measurable expectations and goals. We provide consistent and clear feedback.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We hold people accountable, whether that's ourselves, our students, our admin, or everyone. And we remember to be thankful and show our thanks.
Thank you.
I put that we're good listeners, hardworking, kind, empathetic, and respectful.
provide opportunities for growth.
Opportunities and support were on my list, but I think
Yeah,
I spoke way
opportunities
too
for growth
fast
and
for
opportunities
fingers
and support.
to type.
Yes. Yes. Again, coming back to what you provided in terms of your vision, 3 to 5 years down the road, combined with your cultural aspirations, it truly is the combination of both your culture that you create as well as the goals and objectives. I talked about those being a three-legged stool, and then the communications piece of it. Without investing in all three of those areas, it will fall short. You can remove communications. You can have great goals and invest in the culture and your cultural aspirations. But if you're not telling people internally and externally where you're headed and how you value them, and creating those opportunities for two-way communication, it won't get done. We can have great communications two-way, a lot of discussion back and forth, and have a positive culture where we're investing in the people. But if we're not setting a clear direction, at the same time, the culture will begin to deteriorate. Vice versa. We can leave the culture piece out, not have those behavioral expectations, those cultural aspirations, and we can have great goals and telling everyone about it, but if we're not investing in the people that are doing the work on a daily basis, and saying this is how we aspire to behave and to act, because we want this to be the spirit of how the district acts, then eventually your communications and your goals will fall apart as well. It's all three, and that's why we do that activity at the end. That is also a good sort of measuring stick as we go to create strategic plan, and we go through this process. We listen to the community, we surface interests, we begin to draft goals and objectives. Towards the end, we should be looking back at those aspirations and behavioral expectations and say, will this plan help us achieve that? Will it help us get there? Doreen's going to talk to you about next steps, but I just want to thank you already for your participation tonight, for your engagement in the process, for allowing us to facilitate it, but for really just digging in and providing great thoughts in a short period of time.
So just to recap our next steps, we are meeting again with the leadership team of the schools the first week of September. Dr. Golden and Phil and me, we will sit down and we will map out the best times for those focus groups. It was a priority. First thing that Dr. Gold said, we need to make sure that we're at every elementary. And so we're adding focus groups. So we want to make sure that that staff have that opportunity to meet with us and to talk and have those focus groups, and we'll work with the leadership team here, and especially to make sure that the teachers unions are and the support staff union. Are you OPSE? No. OEA. Both are OEA. Okay. Your unions are definitely included in that a seat at the table if they want to be. There's going to be that opportunity. And then again, if they don't attend a focus group or they miss that, if something happens they can't attend, then we have the staff, the survey. So those come together, and then we'll work on those one-on-one interviews also. So all of that will happen over the next 4 to 5 months. And again, we'll be coming together and identifying those themes. Even if you reflect just tonight, now we're going to step back and we're taking all of that information together. Just think about the themes that kept emerging and kept rising up. So it really, it's enduring. It's not one person's theme. It's a collective theme that comes out. So we're excited about that. And then again, goals and objectives. There's a lot of revisions back and forth, and then delivering a strategic plan that reflects what your community, your students, your staff, your parents, your administrators, and this board want for their schools, that the goals and the direction, and provides clarity in the processes. So, and celebrating the successes along the way, and we're here to support you during that time. So we're very excited. Does anyone have any final questions?
Phil, you said something that really just resonated with me, but you said you said the words invest in our people, and that just that just really feels like the start of something really good.
Thank
I
you.
just want to thank you for doing this brainstorming with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It almost makes me coming to board meetings. I did say almost, by the way.
Almost. Okay, our business being done, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Merlady,
Aye.
Sheehan,
Aye.
Sirdonic,
Aye.
Wind,
Aye.